Hi, I'm your host, Mina, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Michelle.
And we're going to be reading some Reddit stories today. So, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You look nice today.
Thank you. So do you.
I think that's my favorite hairstyle on you.
Wavy.
Like the wavy,
Thank you.
curly.
Thank you.
How do you do it?
I do. So I try to do like a twist out and I never try to get this wavy. I be trying to have more like curls, but for whatever reason, like twist outs and braid outs don't work right, but then it ends up working anyway. So
okay.
Basically, I just literally twisted it overnight and then
like brushed it and then twisted it?
Yeah, I blew it out. So sometimes I'll brush it out, but that looks better like over the course of a few days, but like the next day hairstyle looks better if I blow it out and then twist it up.
Okay. All right. It's okay. I like the Moana. Give me Moana.
Aloha.
Okay. So as a fellow, I would say you self-reflect a lot.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And I know you as a person, you know, whenever it is that you feel like you're wrong in something, you know, you'll admit it later on, but it does suck to kind of be wrong, doesn't it? It's a little embarrassing, right? It's a little embarrassing. Sometimes you feel some shame, you know, and those are all normal feelings.
Right.
But today we're going to be the judges and judge these people to see if they are wrong.
Okay. Okay.
Going to our first story. Am I wrong for telling someone their partner tried to cheat on them?
That's so crazy because I was listening to a Charlotte Dobre story about this. So literally just last night. So, okay.
Okay. We're ready. Okay. It was my girlfriend's birthday over the weekend, and she planned a night out with me and a group of her friends. Dinner, a couple of cocktail bars, and then ending up at a club. I was invited since I know most of her friends, and the night was going well. Once we were at the club, everyone was having a good time. But then one of my girlfriend's friends, who is in a relationship, started dancing with random guys. She's getting pretty close, arms around one of them, and tries to kiss him.
Oh.
A couple of the other friends pulled her away before she actually did. Not long after, she does the same thing with another guy. I turned to my girlfriend and said that her friend's boyfriend deserves to know what's going on. My girlfriend told me to leave it and said it's none of our business. But I pointed out that if it were either of us, we'd both want to know. I told her I was going to message her friend's boyfriend, and she told me not to, adding that it's not like I'm even mates with the guy. I'm friends with the guy. I went ahead and messaged him. Next morning, my girlfriend asked if I actually did it, and I told her yeah. She then says her friend messaged her saying she and her boyfriend got into an argument when she got home, and he's broken up with her. I told my girlfriend that her friend brought it upon herself by trying to cheat, but my girlfriend's saying I'm the one who caused their breakup. Am I wrong for telling someone their girlfriend tried to cheat on them?
Okay, so this is literally so funny that this was the topic, because I promise you I was like thinking about my response to the video I was watching last night. So I'm kind of prepared.
Okay, perfect.
So I think that she's morally right because she feels bad for the unsuspecting person, but I don't think it's her place to do that. And the reason why is because sometimes people will feel like they have to, like it's a part of their responsibility to do those things and they're judging the person doing it. But at the same time, no one's perfect and no one is free of just wrongdoings, period. So that's why I don't like it, because how many times has this person in their life done things that were questionable, but there was no one around to snitch on them? So sometimes that bothers me when people have this mentality of, I have to do what's right, because they don't always apply it to themselves. They apply it to other people because they're being judgy. So if that was my friend, and I think me and you have talked about this before.
And this is her friend's friend. So it's not even...
Girl, okay, I missed that. Okay, I missed that part.
Yes.
I remember me and you talked about this before, and this was before you were engaged, before you were married, and it was just like a fun topic, and Dustin was there, and it was like, would I tell if like you ever did anything? And of course you have never done anything, but I wouldn't, because I feel like I would have a conversation with my friend first. So I wouldn't just be I'm not the friend to hype you up if you're doing bad stuff. I'll just listen. But if you're like cheating on your partner, I know that they're a good partner and you guys seemingly to me have a good relationship. I'm definitely going to tell you how I feel. But that's as far as it goes. It's not my place to tell the other person anything. They'll find out on their own. If they do find out, that's just not my place. So no, I think that she should not have done that. And I don't know her intentions. What if she was just hating?
Yeah, the intentions, questionable, because there's not a lot of context.
And she's not, you don't even know if her man is like, you don't even know the dynamic of their relationship.
Yeah.
You did this off the strength of just, you thought you were doing something good. And I don't believe that. I just believe she's being judgy and had some type of other intentions behind it. Because you don't even know this girl for real.
No.
And you don't know her man.
You don't know if they were in like an open relationship or anything like that. The only thing I can say is I think that she's wrong because this is a friend of a friend.
Exactly.
This is not your friend. And I'm not saying like if one of my friends was cheating on her man, like unless you're putting his life at risk and you're like, oh, we did it without a condom. Right.
Or you're like that. I do it without a condom with like 5 people a week or something crazy.
Yeah. Then I'm definitely snitching. But if it's like, I'm not even trying to like condone cheating, which I'm not. But if it's like basic cheating, I'm going to have a conversation with my friend. And to be honest, like, I'm not trying to put myself like on a high horse, but I would not feel comfortable being like close friends with a cheater.
Right.
Because is that all you're going to do?
Right.
Or like, are you going to betray me one day? Like, I feel like if you have a partner who takes care of you and who's like a trusted partner and you decide to cheat on him, that's going to make me look at you sideways.
Right.
Right. And I don't feel like she's wrong for feeling like, wow, like she cheated on him and that's wrong. Like her saying that's wrong is not wrong.
Right.
But
it wasn't her business.
No. She's a friend of a friend.
It wasn't her business. And it's just not your business to intervene in anyone's relationship. Yeah. I just feel like it always, to me, comes from a place of judgment. And no one has the right to judge people. You can decide for yourself whether you like certain actions or whether you agree with people. But as far as like placing this judgment and then deciding their fate or the circumstances or the consequences for them, that's what it is. No one is allowed to decide consequences for anyone unless you are in a position like you're a police officer, an actual judge, something like that. But like day to day, you can't decide consequences on something that is not, it's just not your place. I just don't believe that. I just don't believe.
Right.
And again, it's because no one is without wrongdoing. So it's like, where were people around when you needed consequences for your actions? No, nowhere. You were allowed to figure it out for yourself, go about it however. But when it comes to ourselves, people are quick to make excuses for their wrong behaviors. When it's other people, it's just like, oh my God, this or that. So no.
So this story aside, right? Since we're on the topic of like friends, if it's like your actual friend, now, does this same argument apply
Mm-hmm.
if I saw your man cheating?
If you saw, but that's because you're my friend.
Getting all the pictures I can.
You're my friend. If you're my friend, that's why you are telling me.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know this person aside from what I told you about them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you can't fairly assess or judge anything that's going on because you don't know them really aside what I told you. Unless you've actually had interactions with this person, you've met them, you've judged them, gotten to know their character for yourself, you don't know them. And so you can't say I have a moral obligation to them because you don't know them. You don't know them.
But what if I saw him cheating? What if he was...
Yeah, if you saw him cheating, you owe that to
because
me.
You're my friend.
Yeah, because we're friends.
Okay.
That's what I mean. We're friends.
Okay.
So we're friends.
Okay.
So you know me. Mm-hmm. So you would know whether or not I was not a good partner or if I was like cheating around too. Mm-hmm. That's another thing too. If I was cheating or something and you saw my partner, I wouldn't feel responsible to tell my friend I saw your man cheating because I know my friend be cheating.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
and if I know my friend be cheating, I'll be like, damn, will she be cheating too?
I'll be like, none of this is my business. They're messy in the relationship and that's not my business.
Yeah. But if I know you're loyal as hell, then I'm snitching.
Right.
You snitching on.
And I agree with telling the person's partner if you know that they're like really putting them at risk.
Yeah.
Because you do
because
know.
people don't think about
the dangers of
cheating. Like people just say, oh, it's just cheating. Like you're just sleeping with them. No, like there are people out here who legit like get diseases because their partner wants to sleep around and then people know about it and they don't say anything. So that's why I'm kind of like, if you definitely know this person, then yeah, you can kind of like tell and stuff. But if it's a friend of a friend, you don't know.
Yeah.
So,
and disease aside, like, what if the things your friend is telling you about this person she's cheating with lets you know like they're a little crazy? That's also putting that person at risk. Like, this guy or this girl, I don't know, they have like unhinged or violent tendencies. That would let me know too, because you don't know if your friend decided to leave this person that they may be having an affair with, how they would act, in that situation. So, but they're in the reverse. You don't know how the person you told, like your friend's partner, how they are. That's why it's not I feel like it's not people's space or people's business because you don't know how that person will react to being told that they were cheated on. And we see that too, where ex-partners or current partners end up assaulting this person out of anger over what happened, So it's just too much of concern that has nothing to do with me.
There's breaking it down. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Breaking it down like that, it's very situational. Like I used to be the snitch warrior. Like if I saw any of my friends getting cheated on, well, I still will tell. Like if I see their man cheating on them, immediately I would snitch on them. But it would be like even like my coworkers and stuff like that. I had that thought, but that came from the pain of working at a job and dating somebody. And I thought we were exclusive, yet we were not. And everybody knew. And I looked like an idiot. So that kind of like warrior attitude came from pain, but then I had to like, heal and then be like, well, even if they did say something, they don't really know me, so it was kind of fair. For the one or two people who really knew who I was, can't make excuses for them.
That's
but
because those are your friends, technically, even though they're your coworkers, and people have this thing about, oh, coworkers and friends. When you spend like 8 hours plus days with people
for a year,
you're bound to form some type of connection.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah. So that's where my feeling is. And that's why still, even not with this, but like the whole like snitching, I still am kind of on the fence because I know how it feels to feel like an idiot and, know that other people.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so. I understand. I think, I've been through betrayal too, but what I can say is also you don't know, again, how people will respond. And that goes to like, they may not even break up or they, so that's why it's just never your place because you don't know. And sometimes like, unless you don't really care about that friend and then you tell their partner that they're cheating, you're going to end that friendship. So if you don't really care about ending the friendship for the sake of some type of moral compass that you are trying to withhold for other people, even though that's not your place, I don't know. It's it's not my concern, I
agree.
Yeah.
On to the next story.
Okay. That was a good one.
Right. Okay. Am I wrong for being lazy and unproductive? A couple of months ago, I came into a life-changing amount of money. After meeting with a financial advisor, we worked out I can keep a lump sum now to pay for any near future purchases, etc., and invest and save the majority of it. The return on my investment and interest from savings will be just over 2.5 times when my current annual salary is. With my salary, I'm not struggling for money. I'm not rich, but I get by comfortably. So with more than double this, I'll have a lot more money to spare. When thinking about what I can do, I realized this money would mean I don't need to work and that I can actually focus on my hobbies and seeing the world, etc. Right? I've been with my girlfriend for 3.5 years. She's currently training to qualify for her dream job. As a trainee, she works full-time alongside university. The course is linked to her job, so she has 3 days of work a week, followed by 2 days of university. I discussed with her that I was planning to quit my job. She asked why, and I pointed out I don't need to waste my time working now when I can actually spend my day doing things I enjoy. She said it would be annoying for her working all day to come home to me who hasn't been at work. I told her that that's not the reason for me to stay at work. I said I found it weird. She'd rather I stayed at work just so I don't enjoy more free time than her.
Right.
Once the money had been invested and in savings and I was left with my lump sum, I quit my job. That was 2 weeks ago. My girlfriend came back from work yesterday and I asked what I had done. I told her I'd been to the gym, went for a run, spent some time playing video games, spent a bit of time reading, and finished building a Lego model that I've been given over Christmas.
That's cute.
I said I'd done some laundry and vacuumed the apartment. I said I'm looking at learning a new language and mentioned us looking for a nice holiday for the summer. She said that I was lazy and wasn't productive, but I disagreed and pointed out it was more productive to me that a day at work would have been, and that I still cooked dinner, done laundry, and cleaned. I told her she needs to get over her jealousy and bitterness and stop getting angry at me for being able to enjoy my time. She just said again I was wasting my days and that I shouldn't have quit my job as it's lazy. Am I wrong for being lazy and unproductive?
Hell no. God, please bless me with this type of circumstance.
I've seen what you've done for others.
I see what you've done for others. Abundantly do it up on me. Me.
On.
Me. I want it. For me, my family, my friends, give it to us right now. Right now. I'm about to fast for 40 days. And 49.
Look, all you got to do is 10 more. We already fasting.
Yes.
10 more days.
I'm fasting. I'm not going to work. I'm just sitting in my room like a monk until the money falls in my lap. Just like this. Peeking out. No money yet? Okay. No, he clocked it. She's absolutely jealous, bitter. And the crazy thing is, I've heard some people kind of say this in jest, like older coworkers that I had that were married, and I'd be like, "Oh, are you getting ready for retirement?" And is your husband getting ready for retirement? And they would literally be like, "Well, he's gonna retire before me, or I have to retire before him because I don't want to come home and see him laying around." But I'm like, but you guys are like 65. He can enjoy his retirement. Aww. And vice versa. But they kind of say it jokingly. But for her to be like dead ass serious is so wrong. It's to sit and say he's not productive when he literally did so much throughout the day. It just was fun stuff. And aside from that, the whole being productive thing, like life is not about being productive 24/7.
This hustle culture.
Life is about whatever you want to make it. So if being productive and being a busy bee makes you feel fulfilled and satisfied, you should do it. But if you love to relax, obviously you have responsibility. But if you love to relax and you want to, on your days off or on your downtime, lay around, lounge, watch TV, whatever you want to do, do it.
And from what he was saying, he wasn't even laying around. He went to the gym. He went for a run. He did laundry. He vacuumed.
He's entitled to because it's his life. Like life is whatever you want to make.
Yeah.
Hannah Montana told us that.
Yeah.
She was telling us all along and we never listened. Life's what you make it. Were you not a Hannah Montana girl?
No. My sister was.
Listen, no. We need Sophia here.
Oh my God. She loves Hannah Montana.
Basically, she told us life is what you make it. And she was right. So, yeah, I think that it's unfortunate too because, maybe this was somebody he wanted to spend his life with. And now he's realizing like she's a hater. I'm not saying
after 3 years.
I'm not saying they can't get past that, but I would definitely like, how comfortable could I feel around my partner knowing that they were jealous of my happiness? I would be...
sorry. I don't know about her, but coming home to a clean house, my laundry done, because I'm pretty sure he didn't do just his laundry. Right. He said he did laundry. My laundry done, and he cooked.
Girl.
And he's energetic. He's not, super tired. It's like,
and he wants to have fun and travel. As soon as he like told me his plans and got the money, I would have been like putting my request in at work for my vacation. Like, I get 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm taking it out all at once. Babe, where are we going? Because I was thinking Hawaii.
Because then because a lot of times, especially here in America, you have to work so hard to survive. It doesn't seem like they're struggling to survive based on what the OP provided. It seems like they're comfortable. And he has enough money to enjoy his life and save. Like, that means that you really don't have to bust your ass. If you want a hobby, if you want a little job on the side, if you want to do something and feel accomplished, I understand that. But this just means you don't have to do the 9 to 5 for real every single day.
And that's just so cozy.
What a blessing.
So cozy. So comfy.
Like, you could just think about like rubbing your legs together like a cricket. Like,
literally, I was gonna say that. I was like, I would be in bed twiddling my toes on Expedia, literally looking up like the craziest flights. Like, we could go to Cambodia.
Imagine, because this was something I was talking to Dustin about the other day. Like, work takes up so much of our thought space.
Yes.
Like when I went to New York, I had a week and a half off.
Right.
After like the first 2 days, because you don't realize that your body is kind of like always ready to work now
Right,
because
right.
you're so used to working. So the first
Right.
2 days I was like, no, I have to do something.
Right.
And then after that, my body kind of went into like accepting where I am.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, my brain started opening,
Mhm.
you know, like it was like, you know, remembering things and thinking
Right.
about stuff and thinking about my interests.
Right.
And it just made me realize how crappy the hustle culture here
Right.
in America really is.
Right.
So if anything, she should be happy that she gets a man who's most likely definitely going to be mentally healthy.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I feel like it is somewhat of a double standard,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
for women to like be, you know, annoyed
Mhm.
if they come home to like a man who isn't like working for real. Although it doesn't happen
Mhm.
a lot,
Mhm.
but as long as like if this happened to Dustin,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
It would be great as long as
Mhm.
if he were single, it would be a different story.
Right.
Because laying around doing nothing
Right.
every day while you're in a serious relationship,
As long as he's doing stuff around the house is what you want to say. There can't
Yes.
be you want it to be more of an equal
Mhm.
home exchange, because going to work and doing housework is double work basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as long as he was coming home and doing stuff, not just expecting you to
Mhm.
be, you know,
Yeah.
taking on that big responsibility of cleaning
Yeah.
and cooking. And
Yeah. And of course, it depends on the man you're with, because I know that if it did happen to Dustin, he would do it because
Right.
sometimes he has days off
Mhm.
and he just cleans because it's like, what else are you going to do?
Right.
You know?
Right.
But yeah, she's lucky, and feel kind of bad that he's just being called lazy just because he's one of the lucky ones here on earth.
He will be fine. He'll have to either he'll leave her, but he's still gonna enjoy his life to the fullest.
Yeah.
And she's gonna be punching the air.
Whole time.
The whole time she could have been in Cambodia.
Whole time she could have just worked 3 days out the week if she wanted to.
Right. I would have been like, okay, we're not married yet, but we're 3 years in. We're probably on the track to whatever, marriage or long term or whatever. So I'm just going to go part time. But I'm going to run it by him first and test the waters to see what he says. But if he encourages me to go
test the
part-time,
waters.
Girl, he didn't even know that I already had my letter written out. The day he told me he won the lottery, I had the letter typed out. To whom it may concern.
Get the bag.
Per my email.
Not saying that he's only a bag. It seems like,
Right,
you know, he's a nice guy.
Right. They were together
whatever.
before that.
Yeah.
And they both have their own careers.
Yeah.
But now they both can enjoy the life of luxury.
Yeah.
Or the life of freedom.
Yeah.
That's true luxury to me, is freedom.
Yeah. Sometimes we just gotta get out of our weird feelings. You know, obviously she's feeling really weird about it. She got to get out of that, or she's going to miss a good thing.
Right.
Like I remember in the beginning, like this just reminded me of, remember Kia, right?
Yeah.
So, but in the beginning of me and Dustin dating, it had to be like 2 months in. And, you know, he was very serious off the bat. Gigi already told me he wanted a serious relationship. So I'm like, all right, if a serious relationship is what I want, then I'm going to give this a try or whatever.
Right.
So about 2-3 months in, we had a conversation about being official. And we made it official. And then he had like a few questions because he's always been very thorough. And he was like, if we got married, would you sign a prenup? And I was like, you know, younger then, I didn't really understand what a prenup was. When he said prenup, I heard Kanye West's voice in my head, like from Gold Digger, you know. But, you know, we were on a date. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. So then I go to work and I was working with Key at the time. And I'm sitting right next to her. And I was like, I don't know, like I'm dating this really nice guy, telling her everything. And I was like, but he wants to sign a prenup and I don't know how to feel about that. And she looked at me, she was like, girl, that means he got money. She was like, girl, do it. She didn't She looked at me like I was crazy. She's like, I mean, he got money, girl. You know her voice.
Yeah.
I love her voice. I mean, he got money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes things aren't really what it seems.
Right.
She thinks that that's lazy, but it is not.
Right. And, I don't even understand why she would jump to that conclusion that he would just be lazy or like this situation doesn't somehow benefit her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why she would think that unless he has not been a sharing person in the past.
Right.
But girl, if he hasn't, then
yeah,
you should have been.
He said, we're going on a trip.
Right.
Not just me.
So why are you thinking that? She was tripping.
Yeah.
But
not wrong.
No.
On to the next story.
Okay.
Am I wrong for how I reacted when my son bullied a girl with cancer?
Okay.
I am 38 and I have a 15-year-old son who is going to be a sophomore after this school year is over. I gave birth to my son when I was 23 years of age. Unfortunately, my son's dad left when he was 5 and never came back. I have not heard from his dad in years. Recently, my son has been getting in trouble. Quite frankly, I am at my wit's end. I am at a loss. My son made new friends that have been nothing but trouble. My son and his friends have shoplifted from stores, skipped school, and has been a smartass. May 9th, my son bullied a girl who lost her hair. She is going through chemo. The girl was sitting in her seat and my son decided to rip her scarf off. Him and his friends said very mean things to her. The poor girl was already getting bullied and my son, I don't know how to say this word, exacerbated?
Yeah.
Okay, exacerbated it. She was humiliated. I was called to the school. They brought my son and the girl to the office. I arrived there shortly after they called me. The teacher and principal explained the situation. The mother of the girl he bullied was at the school as well. I asked the mother for her number. I gave her my number. I told her that if she needed anything, to not hesitate to ask. My son was given 2 days of ISS for bullying. My son and I got home and I was furious. I lost my mind. I went into his room and took every electronic. I took his PS5, his MacBook, his iPhone 13. I took his name brand shoes, his name brand jackets, his Hollister jeans, and his Nike shirts. I grounded him indefinitely. 3 days later, I sold his electronics at a very marked down price. I bought my son Walmart clothes and Goodwill shoes. He will not bully someone and get away with it. I gave the money to the mother so she can buy her daughter a wig. The only thing my son has in his room is his bed, drawers, mirror, and his shelf for books. I even confiscated his art supplies. My family on my mother's side are not talking to me because of this. I know that it's been 2 weeks. I just feel like there was a possibility that I was too harsh. Edit, he is not allowed to leave the house at all. He's also not allowed to hang out with his friends.
No, I don't think that she was wrong. I don't think that was too hard of a punishment. I think that was perfect. I wouldn't even have been mad at her if she said she sold all the stuff and then went and bought herself something. Because
see these new earrings?
Because, of course, parents' responsibilities to take care of their kids, but she gave them a lot of luxuries. Like,
yes,
those were all really expensive luxuries. So that wouldn't even have been selfish if she did that for herself. But I believe, and we know this from what we've seen in the media of kids, what they'll do to themselves when they've been bullied and things like that.
Yeah.
Bullying is not taken seriously enough in schools and in life in general. And it doesn't just end in school. You become an adult and there's still workplace bullying. There's still bullying sometimes within friendship groups and dynamics. There's even partner bullying, like with your relationship, your romantic relationships. So.
And everyone vividly remembers their they're going through the bullying.
Girl, kids
Like-
are mean, especially the middle school age. I'm sorry to
Mhm.
anyone who's been bullied like in elementary school, but I think it's really heightened in middle school.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is about
Mhm.
being between the ages of 11 and 13, but kids
Mean.
meaner than high school. And again, some people's high school experiences of bullying were really bad too, but that
Mhm.
middle school time was when I saw kids just going in on other kids.
Mhm.
And so I really like how she handled it. And I hope that teaches him a lesson in, one, treating people with respect and, you know, taking into accountability how someone can feel, and also showing him the consequences of his actions.
Mhm.
But I also hope that teaches him to not be a follower because
Yeah.
of, you know, he was, you know, being a follower, trying to
was.
be in with the in crowd and trying to do what the other cool kids were doing.
Mhm.
And that's not the way to go about life. Like, you know, we talked about earlier having morals, and we talked about in
Mhm.
previous, you know, Reddit podcasts that we've done about having integrity and respect for yourself and respect for others. And that is
Mhm.
something you need to learn and know as a kid. And that way you can navigate life as an
Yeah.
adult that is empathetic, compassionate, stands on their own 2 feet, and is assertive, because
Mhm.
you learn that you shouldn't be following behind anybody. You should always do what's right
Yep.
for yourself and for other people around you.
Mhm.
And there is one thing I will say though.
Mhm.
I do think her punishment, or any parents, if they're trying to punish their kids for, or discipline their kids, punish sounds so crazy.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
the Punisher.
Yeah.
Discipline their kids for bullying. I think hopefully there's a conversation around compassion and why that's wrong. Not just
True.
the actual punishment of things, because
Mhm.
that sometimes shows kids, that almost makes someone feel resentful towards not
Mhm.
themselves, but towards like the person that
Yes.
got them in trouble. You know, it
Mhm.
almost is like, yeah, nah, I really hate this kind of person or this or that because it
Mhm.
got me in trouble, and not realizing, no, it was your actions that
Mhm.
got you in
Agreed.
trouble.
Mhm.
And lastly, the last thing I'll say is, so with him being around these kids that are stealing,
Mhm.
as a kid, my mom told me early on, and it's a cliche, a common saying that people say, but she told me early on, like, do you want to be a follower or do you want to be a leader?
Mhm.
And that stuck with me so deep, because the way she put it, I'm like, a follower, like doing what everybody else
She
is
said it
doing.
disrespectfully.
She
Like-
made, it's like the way she told it to me, it just, something clicked in my mind where it was just like,
Ugh.
following
Mhm.
behind. But as a youth and as a younger person, it was hard, because sometimes you can feel isolated
Yeah.
by not being a follower.
True.
Because what oftentimes when you're a kid, teenager, whatever, what's cool is usually like bad shit.
Mhm.
Like, I also have
Facts.
friends that used to steal, and I would go to the mall with them, and they'd be stealing from like Claire's and, you know, Sephora, and I would just be in the background, like, acting like I don't see them, and I wouldn't participate. Then we would,
That's so good for you.
girl. So, but it was, it was the like, but also too, it did have this feeling of like, sometimes people thought you were lame, or
Mhm.
you were goody two shoes, or this or that. So it was isolating, but as I got older,
Mhm.
it helped me in the long run, because it made me realize it doesn't matter what people think. It matters what I think about me.
Yes.
It matters about how I feel about me. And as long as I respect myself, respect people around me, I'm going to attract other people like that. Not people that are trying so hard to fit in or be cool or do whatever. I'm going to attract my type of people. And we're all going to be our little nice, sweet selves together.
Right.
So to any kids watching, it's hard being or not being a follower, or not following into peer pressure, but you'll appreciate it once you get older.
Yeah. And I will say shortly my experience on the other side. Okay. I wasn't a follower either, but I did steal. Not proud of it. Not proud of it at all. So when I say this, it's not like a cutesy, oh yeah, I used to like that shit was embarrassing. It is embarrassing.
Right.
I will say that, because, like you said earlier, not judging too harshly, so for me, when I think about kids who steal, it depends on the kid, honestly. But for me, it was more so, it came from a lack of getting, and I had that kind of like broke mindset, and no one around me did it. I just did it.
Right.
And I did it when I was a teenager. Yeah, it was horrible. It started when I was in Egypt. So like I was like maybe 14 or something like that. And I would just take little things and came back to America. I was like 17 and I stole stuff out of Sephora. Okay. And I remember, yes, like what the hell? Who was I? Like,
a criminal.
A
criminal. It's like, I'm not judging
criminal. Like it was horrible.
It's like, I'm not judging.
Huh?
I said, I'm not judging you. Like I said, I had friends that used to steal all the time, but
girl, I'm judging myself because it was bad. But I know like it just came from, thinking that I won't get these things,
right.
And not making excuses for myself, but sometimes that does happen. Right. And I remember after the Sephora trip, it was like something just came into my brain. I don't know if it was probably like awareness, like, you get older, you get greater awareness. But I remember leaving that Sephora and all of a sudden I felt disgust. And I'm just like, what did I just do? So then I remember I got home and I started reading like religious books, and it talked about, how bad it was to steal. It was like some Islamic book, I don't remember. And I started crying and I realized that, me stealing was not just because I wanted something. It was also harming a business, right? So at first it was just like me like, oh, I'm never going to get this chocolate bar and just taking a chocolate, like stupid stuff. So yeah, I realized that. And I remember just sitting there and I decided to pray. And I was like, God, forgive me for everything I stole. I don't know why I did this. I'm never going to do it again. I don't want to ever do it again. And everything that I took from Sephora, I dumped it in the trash. And then I remember going in my room and taking all like the little stuff that I stole over time and throwing it in the trash. And then after that, I never stole again.
Good.
But yeah, that was not a good time.
Scared straight.
Yeah. Scared straight by my own awareness.
Good.
So
good. I'm glad because
that was weird.
No, that was a good thing. And I'm glad because, okay, being on the opposite end of someone who was stolen from, but girl, so silly.
Your little friends were stealing from you?
Girl, okay, I have two stories, but I'll make them quick. I won't like harp on this, but when I was in elementary school, we had a Secret Santa party. So one of my friends, her Secret Santa gift to me. So I always was like artsy. I loved crafts and I loved school supplies. So she got me a Scooby-Doo, which I'm not even a fan of Scooby-Doo, but it was like, no, I never was a Scooby-Doo girl. Like never.
All right, let's just roll past it.
Never. I like the modern movie adaptations that they made in like 2005 or 4 or 3 or whatever. Please. But the actual cartoon, I did not like it. So she got me a Scooby-Doo set, but it was like a girly Scooby-Doo. So that's what made it super cute. It was like pinks and purples, and it was a folder with like the pencil case and it had the pencil, the eraser, all that cute stuff. So I put it in my cubby, go about the rest of the Christmas party. We just, all the dancing and walking around and eating cookies and snacks and hanging out with other kids. And when I leave, My younger brother's dad, he came to pick me up.
Mhm.
So we lived in an apartment and we lived on the top floor.
Mhm.
So apartments in California, well, I can't say all of California. I know Oakland and I know LA is like this too. They look like motels where like the doors are on the outside and there's steps on the outside and there's like a balcony.
Okay.
So we lived at the top. And just kind of giving you an idea of how easy it was to walk in between to get to someone else's apartment.
Okay.
So we get upstairs and girl, so I get to my cubby,
Mhm.
backtrack. I get to my cubby. My gift is gone, my little Scooby-Doo set. So the whole walk home, I was crying.
No.
Literally holding hands with my little brother's dad and just crying the whole walk. And I'm like a kid. So we obviously couldn't have lived far, but to me, it felt like we were walking 10 miles and I was crying for 10 miles. Just crying.
No, because I can picture that. And
Like,
you were a cute kid.
And
So
real,
that's not
real
funny.
crying, just real tears. So
Oh my God.
So the reason my mom didn't come pick me up is because she was wrapping Christmas gifts.
Mhm.
So when we walk into the front door, she was like, trying to hide the Christmas gifts. And she looks and she was like, why are you crying? What happened? And I was like, somebody stole Scooby-Doo. And she's like, what? So I swear our downstairs neighbor, which they were friends, and I was also friends with her daughters. They were like around my age, maybe like a year younger. One was like a year older.
Mm-hmm.
She comes upstairs too at the same time to come like hang out with my mom. And she was like, oh, why are you crying? And I explained it to her. And she literally looks at me and goes, I'll be right back. Walks downstairs back to her apartment and comes back up. Her daughters, my friends that I played with, stole my stuff right out of my cubby. So that was one instance. A second one was when we first moved here to Michigan.
Fuck them kids.
I know. My mom got remarried and her husband's niece, who was around a little bit younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
And he also had a daughter, my stepsister. We all used to hang out and had so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got here, we were giving them like some of our stuff. Like I was giving them like purses and some makeup and little accessories that I wasn't really going to use. Cause we packed up our whole lives and moved here. So I'm like, oh, you guys can have this. You can have that. Like I've always been a person that shares. So I'm like giving them all this stuff. Like, yeah, you can have this, whatever. And one day my stepsister spends the night and I'm like, have you seen, I don't remember what it was, but I'm like, I can't find it. And she just looked so nervous. And then she's like, okay, don't tell my dad, don't tell your mom, but my cousin be stealing and she might have the stuff you're looking for. And in my mind, I'm like, why would you steal from me? And I gave you a bunch of stuff. I gave you so much stuff. So she goes, because at this time she lived with her aunt and her cousin. So she goes back home after, spending the night with me for the weekend. And she finds it and she was like, oh, she has this like suitcase she keeps in the basement with like her stuff that she'd be stealing basically. She brought it back to me. Yes. So she brought it back to me.
Wait, she specifically had an area.
Yes, it's like her
stolen items?
It's like her hidden little trinkets. And so when we were fasting during Ramadan, and her dad and her brothers, they would work at like stores and whatever, they would bring like, snacks and a bunch of candy. And they did have a family of a lot of kids. So she would hoard all the snacks to herself and she'd be the one to ration it out to the kids. And she would literally give them crumbs. Whole time in her room, in her drawer, she had like all the snacks to herself. All the snacks to herself.
Nah, that's just greed.
So there was always this thing of like, that mentality always bothered me because I felt like, be thankful for what you have, but to your best ability, just go out and get it for yourself. And I grew up broke too, but I used to do henna. I used to do makeup. Like,
wait, how old were you with the stepsister one?
I was about 15.
Okay.
Yeah, I was about 15. They were like 14 and 13 at the time. So we were all between the ages of like 13 and 15.
Mhm.
So after that, started doing henna, this and that, working, stacking my money. And then little by little, I would buy my little trinkets that I liked. And I stopped letting her come in my room. We still were cool. We still used to hang out, but she was not allowed to come into my room anymore after that because you betrayed me.
After already getting makeup.
And I thought
that's so hurtful.
I thought we were going to be sisters. But yeah.
No, that's sad.
Don't steal kids.
That's so great. No.
And adults.
Please.
Even if you're like
teenagers.
One of those people that think stealing is fun. You know, there's some people that are like kleptomaniacs. It's not, it hurts somebody. Stealing hurts somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. That was crazy.
I know it was so random, so long, but.
Okay. On to the next story. Am I wrong for thinking my friend is enjoying the fact that the guy I was talking to is flirting with her?
Okay.
See, I like this one because I knew that, you know, me and you, we can read things pretty well, but especially when it's like reverse psychology stuff.
We can read between the lines.
Between the lines.
And for people who say there is no in between the lines, there's always.
Always.
Always. That's called critical thinking.
Always. Even if you go to Microsoft Word and you put the lines super close, there's still a microscopic line.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. I'm 25 female and was in a situationship with Patrick, 26 male. We met on Discord, talked daily for 3-4 hours for about a month. We got flirty, almost like friends with benefits, since we sex cammed multiple times.
This sounds old.
I know, right?
Like y'all were on Skype?
Right.
No, not the stories. Oh, like maybe this happened a while ago because sex cam.
I didn't even look at the date, but it's just 20 days old.
Okay.
Okay.
Do y'all remember Skype?
Of course. Skype was that. Remember the emojis from Skype? They were so lit. Like I remember the dancing guy emoji of Skype. He was like, like it was lit.
That was the only way to video call somebody. You had to pull out your laptop. Girl, I had a Toshiba, like a big ass laptop.
Skype was fun.
Sitting with a TV on my lap.
Skype was so fun.
Girl, it was fun.
It was so fun.
Oh my goodness. Sorry.
It's okay. Okay. Though we never met in person, I thought we might date because we spent so much time together, shared the same religion, and talked about our religion every time we talked. However, I saw red flags. He confused me with other girls he talked to, and I later realized he was a player.
She must be young because he was sex scamming you.
Yeah.
Outside of the dating. I mean, before the dates even happened.
Yeah. I have a longtime friend, Sam, 26 female, who has a boyfriend, but they do not play video games together often. Sam knows everything about my situation with Patrick, including how hurt and used I felt. I immediately stopped talking to Patrick when he started flirting with Sam while we were playing Minecraft with friends. 2 days later, he was playfully trying to get Sam to call him daddy in Discord call. Everyone in our friend group noticed he is always flirting with Sam, but Sam insists he wasn't. Her response to Patrick whenever he flirts with her is, "Do you want to get cut?" Weirdo. Like, do you want to get cut?
Have you
with my nails? Stupid flirty bitch. What bothers me is that Sam keeps inviting Patrick to play Marvel Rivals, a game I don't even play, and even Minecraft without me. I told her I don't want to be around Patrick because I hate him, but she says she's staying neutral. To me, that still feels like choosing a side. I introduced her to Patrick. They never really played video games together, but I noticed they were playing together every day since the day I cut him off. Sam always invites Patrick and one other friend to play Marvel Rivals. So if she doesn't only invite Patrick, so she doesn't only invite Patrick, but it bothers me that she invites him every day, which to me is weird. I know I can't control who she games with, but isn't this breaking girl code?
Yes.
In my opinion, if a guy who hurt my close friend after being in a situationship with her and he starts flirting with me, I would immediately cut him off. Now I'm seeing that they have playful nicknames with each other. Sam is calling Patrick Shrimpy in reference to their inside joke. She's questioning. Am I being petty, jealous, immature, or all of the above? Should I bring it up to Sam that this is bothering me or just let it go? I don't know anymore because it would feel like I'm breaking their friendship. I also felt so annoyed because Sam showed me a message between her and Patrick. Patrick messaged Sam after she got annoyed with him. Patrick wrote to her, just making sure that I don't hurt you because I care about how you feel. Please help me. I don't know what to do anymore. I was contemplating to just cut her off too.
I think you should definitely tell her how you feel and then cut her off. She's absolutely flirting. Like you said, I'll cut you. That's that kind of like aggressive. I'm flirting.
Flirtatious.
Yes. Come on now. We all know that, like, when a guy likes you and you're like, oh, you're so stupid.
Right?
We all know that strategy.
Like, do you want to wrestle? I'm strong.
I'm stronger than you. You can't even pick me up. You can't even pick me up.
I'm too thick and heavy.
Yes, I am. Let me sit on your lap. Let me sit on your lap and show you I'm too heavy. Stop it. Stop it. They do sound young, not just because they're gaming, because you can be gaming.
Yeah, mid-20s, 25,
she did
26.
Say. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, they're young, but old enough to, like, this is giving. I thought they were younger. I didn't pay attention to the age. I thought they were like 19, 20. So that right there lets you know, like, okay, unfortunately, he was a player. Who knows if he's really interested in your friend or not? Like, maybe she's worried, like, oh, he didn't take me seriously, but he might be taking her seriously. He just seems like a player.
Yeah.
That's it. And she's just buying into it, but her friend gives pick-me vibes. And that's just, you can't be friends with pick-me's.
Yep.
Period. I know maybe people want to retire the pick-me label. I've seen that online because it...
Really?
Yeah, because it's...
Oh, heck
they're like
no.
I think people are doing to pick me what people started doing to the word feminist, where it's like, now if you use that word, you're just really a woman that hates men and hates women that love men. And it's like, no, there actually are girls who are pick me, and this hoe is a pick me.
Yes.
She's a pick me. Tell her how you feel and cut her off.
Yep. Because this is another instance where someone is feeling that something is not right.
Yeah.
And she's ignoring it for the sake of, she's caring about their friendship. And this is another thing that especially
Didn't they
younger
meet
people.
through her?
She said that she introduced Sam to Patrick.
So, like, girl, they wouldn't be a friendship if it wasn't for you. Tear that shit down.
Yeah. Yeah.
But go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. What was I going to say?
This is another thing that young people...
Oh, yeah. I know when I emphasize like young people, like I know that even older people experience these similarities, but some behaviors are kind of known to be in a certain era, and for this one, it's like her still putting her friends before her. Yeah, over her own feelings and not fully trusting her intuition about her friend, but clearly, and this is why sometimes women be weird, you liked that he was giving you this attention, even though it says in here that she has a boyfriend, so she has a boyfriend, right? But you having a boyfriend and this being your friend's ex-situationship was not enough for you to cut him off because you like the attention.
Right.
I don't think that it wasn't like a I don't think that she wasn't aware.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was very aware.
Right.
She just liked what was happening and let it happen.
Yeah, she's a pick-me. She's not a real friend. She didn't care about your feelings. She only cared about being validated and getting some male attention. That's all she cared about. And he's just a loser that likes to sex cam and play Minecraft.
Yep.
Girl.
But yeah. Okay. Next story.
Okay. I don't know why I laughed. I felt like the way you kind of smirked before you read it meant that it was going to be funny.
Oh.
You kind of gave it a little smirk, so that's why I was like, this is going to be a good one. They've all been good, but I'm like, is this going to be a really good one?
Yeah, no, I just thought that because I felt like me and you have gone through stuff like that before where we like suspected our friend of liking something that hurt us.
Of being a weirdo, but not really knowing how to approach their weird behavior.
Yes.
Or thinking we were overreacting or overthinking.
The overreacting.
And pretty much every time we were spot on.
Yep.
So trust you're good.
Yep.
No, but I meant the way you kind of smiled before you read this one. I'm like, this must be a good one. You kind of smirked before you were just about to read it. So I'm like, it's a good one. But they've all been good.
I did put them in order from like less weird to more weird.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Am I wrong for telling my wife that our daughter is too old for her to be bathing with her?
Okay.
My wife, 39 female, still insists on taking baths with our daughter, 11 female, every night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Her reasoning being that our daughter is the worst hair washer in the world and she can't wash her hair right on her own. So my wife insists on taking the bath with her and says she will continue until our daughter can wash her hair properly on her own. This is starting to seem a bit weird to me. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think our daughter might be getting too old for it. Tonight, my wife asked our daughter if she wanted to take their bath before or after dinner. My daughter said before, so my wife said, all right, then we will take our bath right now. Head on upstairs. I'll be there in a minute. My daughter said, okay, and went upstairs. Yes.
So much to unpack. So much to unpack. So many different perspectives and points of views. Oh,
yeah.
I'm actively listening while trying
Arms
to
crossed.
while trying to keep my mind still. Like I'm listening but thinking at the same time.
Trying not to implode.
It's stressful.
This was when I, 39 male, asked my wife if she didn't think our daughter was too old to be taking baths with her. My wife looked at me kind of funny and said, no, I don't see a problem with it. I asked if she was sure and she replied, yes, I'm sure. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't be silly. She gave me a smile and went upstairs to take her bath. Their bath, sorry. I am still not sure if she isn't too old for this. I've asked my daughter and she doesn't mind. My wife is fine with it and says it saves time and water anyway, so there's no harm. But I still think maybe she's just too old for it. But I also think maybe I'm just making a big deal out of something that isn't a problem.
First of all, every cleanup of your body, I don't even know what I'm trying to say because I'm so flustered.
Yeah.
Every body cleansing doesn't have to be a bath. Let's start there. That is reserved for little ones because they're so short. The shower water, I don't know. They just don't know how to stand there and like scrub all their parts of bodies. And bath time is like fun. It boosts their creativity so they can play with toys. Like all of that stuff when you're little is for a reason because it's a part of your development, you know? But so at 11, every cleansing does not need to be a bath for a mom or her. So the saving water aspect, well, that's why you should be taking a shower. You get in, you wash from head to toe, and then you get the hell up out of there. And it would be a lot less water than filling up the tub every time to accommodate a young woman and a woman. So a young lady, a preteen, and a woman.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of body, and obviously they need a lot of water to do that. So she's probably using more water to fill a tub for two every time they have to bathe themselves.
Yeah.
Secondly, yes, she's too old to be doing that. And I won't even go the thing that some people might be thinking. I'll go first. She's too old for that because she needs her privacy.
Mm-hmm.
She needs to learn how to wash her hair properly because she's going to be an adult. And if you're constantly washing it for her, how is she going to know how to do it? You know, that's if you feel like she's not, you just have to reinforce it verbally. Like, make sure you're scrubbing your scalp. Make sure you're doing this. You know, that's why when kids are little and they do start taking a shower, you have to adamantly be like, scrub your butt. Did you get in your butt? Did you
get in the butt crack?
Did you get in between those sheets? I don't think you did. Get back in the shower. Get back in here. So you can just reinforce her to clean herself better. But she's not going to learn if you keep doing it for her and doing it with her. So I think this is maybe the mom not being able to like accept that her daughter's growing up and still trying to have this baby bonding time with her. But you need to accept that she's in a different age and phase in her life. So you need to bond accordingly. Yes, bath time can't be bonding anymore, but she's at an age now, maybe going to get manicures or more age appropriate activities to bond with her. You can do that. But on the opposite end, I mean, at him as a husband and as a parent, it's okay if you think your partner is doing something weird because you're the child's protector. So even if, let's say, the mom actually is a pervert, because I didn't want to take it there because
sometimes we have to.
Sometimes you have to. And I think at us being women, it's easier for us to identify those behaviors in men, not because all men are perverts. It's just as women, a lot of us have had experiences from a young age with men being perverts, period.
Yep.
Whether it was in your family, whatever. And 9 out of 10 times, I won't even say 9 out of 10, I don't know the exact stats. The majority of the time when you are abused as a child, sexually, physically, whatever, it is more than likely from a familial person than it is a stranger.
Yeah.
So as women, we've had those experiences more than men, but that doesn't discount that women can be predators too. And just like there are fathers and stepfathers that sexually abuse their kids, there are also mothers, stepmothers, maternal figures, or women figures in your life that can do that too. So they're both that child's protector. And also too, in our society, women are usually the main caregivers of kids. So a lot of times it's hard for men to question.
Yes.
Because it's usually women's roles to socialize children. So he's wondering, like, is she socializing her right? Or is this weird? But it is in fact weird. It may not be she's a pervert, an abuser. It may just be, you know, the innocent side of her feeling like she doesn't want to accept her daughter growing up. But either way, in both of those circumstances, it's harming the daughter.
Yes.
If it's just the innocent option I gave, it's harming her because it's delaying her developmentally. It's not allowing her to mature, have independence, have some form of independence and autonomy over her body and her life. And if she's just straight up abusing her, of course, because again, we probably trust our moms the most.
Yes.
So if you're being molested by your mom, potentially, you don't even realize how weird that is. And that's going to do a whole bunch of harm. So he needs to like nip this shit in the bud, set a boundary. Well, he needs to dig first, find out why she's doing it. And then once he finds out the reason, shut that shit down. But I don't like it.
No, me neither. And clearly, whether or not it's the former or the latter, his spidey senses are tingling. Period. So that means whether or not she is abusing the daughter or just being weird because she doesn't want to let her grow up, whatever.
Right.
He's sensing that something is wrong.
And it is.
And something is wrong, regardless of what is actually going on.
Exactly.
So I think that, again, like you said, he's tiptoeing because he's the father. And it's like he's somewhat, gaslighting himself a little bit to feel like, maybe this is normal or whatever. But he does need to follow how he feels because clearly there's something wrong going over here. And like, I don't know. I'm not too much of a fan of how she kind of like brushed it off so nonchalantly. I feel like if my husband thought that I was doing something weird or kind of like insinuated, like, don't you think like she'll be fine without this or whatever, I would be like, no, but why do you say that? Like I would dig a little bit and be like, why do you think that? As a partner, as a normal partner, like, do you think something is wrong? Like, did she tell you anything? Like, did she say that she was uncomfortable? But no, she was like, don't be silly. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Of course, I could be reading too much into it. But
in a situation like that, until you have all the answers, you have to read too much into it.
Yeah. Facts. Like, I would not even blame him. I'm probably going to be reaching a little bit, but because, I have a niece and I remember no one ever like took a shower with her, but like helping her wash her body. That stopped a few years ago.
Girl, yeah.
Even though now she's 9, we help her wash her hair because she'd be like, I washed it, So then that's when you help and, you ensure, I'm not looking, because sometimes, especially girls are shy. So sometimes, I see her looking and I'm just like, looking at her hair. You ensure the child has their privacy even when you are helping them. But that doesn't come with you taking a bath / shower. And I know that she doesn't draw the line at a bath. I know she'd be taking showers with her too.
And exactly like you said, you don't have to get in there to help them.
No.
Just like you said, my mom would help me wash. She wouldn't help me wash my hair. My mom, she literally, my mom would wring my hair out like it was like a rag. Like literally my head would just be bobbing around. And I'm like, but she wasn't in there with me. Like, and again, if there wasn't any weirdness around it, usually when you're a kid and it's your mom, you are comfortable being naked around them.
Yeah.
At least I was, because also too, I see people calling it like a naked mom or whatever, where it's like, they're kind of comfortable being naked in front of you. Like my mom wasn't just ass out all the time, but like she wasn't shy if she had to get dressed in front of us. So, and if I did try to be shy, she'd be like, girl, you're my daughter. And then proceed to wring my head. But it's because there were no weird intentions.
Exactly.
There wasn't any, So like you said, her being dismissive, but in this way, almost to like calm him, feels eerie.
Yes.
That does feel eerie.
That's exactly what I thought.
That does feel eerie. It feels very eerie.
Exactly.
It's like, and then he says she smiled. The way I swear, okay, you hit that on the nail. You hit that on the nail because I literally, when you said she smiled, I swear I was thinking like, it just gives weird, like, that kind of like calm smile, but they're hiding something.
Don't be silly. How many movies have we watched? Oh, don't be silly.
Don't be silly. And then when I turn around, you come in the room and stab me in the back.
Literally, like
bludgeon me with the damn candle.
Yeah. So
that was weird.
Yeah, and we can't ignore that. And I'm gonna read some comments because it speaks to the experience that parents really have to think about the long-term effects of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you cannot treat your kid like a baby.
Exactly.
Treat them like a kid, yes, but
the baby phase is the shortest
the
phase
baby
of your life.
Short.
And the adult phase is the longest phase of your life.
Yes.
Period. That's a fact.
Because even though, like, I'm not saying I'll be the perfect parent or whatever, but truly and honestly, having like nieces and nephews while you're like this age really does help you not learn how to parent,
Right.
but remember how it was to be a kid.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying only having nieces and nephews, being
Right.
around kids in general,
Right.
but really having Sophia in my life really made me see how things turn around.
Exactly.
You know, and it's just a very eye-opening experience. So that's why I know like people with kids are like, yes, it's a very, you know,
Right.
eye-opening experience and you learn so much. I understand that.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like there are a lot of uncomfortable things that kids go through and they don't realize it was actually uncomfortable for them until they remember it when they get older.
Right.
Because like even the whole naked mom thing, I've seen that.
Right.
I saw it like a few months back.
Right.
And the comments were 50-50.
Right.
The people who are coming to, oh, y'all are just soft. You know, I saw my mom naked all the time.
Right.
And then the other half was, my God, I still see my mom's naked body in my head. I wish she never did that. No, some people are legit upset.
Right.
They're like, I wish I didn't have to see my mom's titties.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
not sexualizing their mom.
Right.
But some people, to be honest, are not comfortable with nudity.
Right.
And that should be respected.
And I think too, maybe the frequency of it too.
Yes.
That goes into, again,
Yes.
being considerate, like you said, of thinking of how that person may feel. Because while I don't necessarily agree about the nudity part, but again,
what aspect of the nudity?
Every person is different. So I'm not saying I don't agree with you. I'm saying like some of the comments or people feeling like, oh, that's such a weird, wrong thing. I get that that can be your perspective because we're all different. So that's what I mean. But I would say I more so feel that way. And I think to me, this is more normalized than parents walking around naked is like this joke of like hearing your parents have sex. I don't actually agree with that. And this is kind of
agree with you. You're disagreeing.
Yeah, this is a kind of way off topic, so I won't go too far into it. But I feel that way, that I don't think that should be something that's normalized.
Facts.
If it happens accidentally sometimes, but if it's just a regular occurrence and you as adults or as these kids' parents feel like, whatever, I don't care. It's a part of life. We're married. But then you don't hold the space to actually talk to your kids about sex, or you shame them about sexual topics, then to me, that is the craziest thing in the world. And that probably it causes some type of trauma.
It does, because I've also read comments about that too. And they were saying how like things like that, you still see and hear it until like forever, like your entire life.
Yeah.
And there was one person that said like her parents did not care. Almost every night or whenever they would leave the door open.
Now that's gross.
And be regular as if she wasn't there.
That's gross.
She said it was her entire childhood.
They're perverts. They're perverts.
That's traumatic.
That's perverted. And if you're just, even if you're not to that extent, but you're always loud as hell and letting the kids hear, and then you think it's funny, I just don't. And if I have adult friends who talk to me about that and they kind of try to make a joke of it, I never laugh. And you know, I laugh at everything. So if you say something that's supposed to be funny and I just kind of like, I'm very uncomfortable because I don't like that. I don't care what anybody says. I literally don't care what anybody says if they're like, people are too soft or that's a part of life or we're adults. Like, no, y'all are some freaky weirdos because why do you, it's almost like you want your kids to hear.
Exactly.
But then at the same time, you don't even want to have real sex conversations with them.
Look,
I would be comfortable doing that. And I'm not a parent. I know that that's hard too. I would be comfortable talking to my kids for real when it's time about sex. But I'm not going to be loud as hell when I know they're home.
I would die of embarrassment. Shit, like
that's not for you to hear.
No. And I agree with the naked mom thing too.
Yeah.
However, I don't know if it's going to be a reach,
Okay.
but I think that because the naked mom thing, it can turn out one way or another, right? So my thing is, and not judging any moms, by the way, if there are no harmful intentions, but my thing is, if there is a high chance or even like a half chance that your child would be uncomfortable seeing you naked, don't do it.
Right.
And I know like sometimes like I never saw my mom fully naked, but you know, sometimes moms get out the shower and you're their kid. So they're trying to like hurry up and get dressed like that. Fine. Right. You know, but I do think that some moms may be like, yeah, you know, they're my kid. And even if some people don't react to it from a traumatic place, I think that the people who have dealt with it traumatically should be heard enough to where it doesn't happen as much.
Right.
I think that it should be something that kind of shouldn't be normalized either because of the children that felt highly uncomfortable.
Right.
You know, and sometimes people will try to twist it like, oh, you know, you was probably just sexualizing your mom or, you know, the bodies are always getting sexualized.
Right.
That's not it. Some people are just more comfortable with, you know, more like intimate modesty and some people don't care.
Right.
You know, and that's fine.
Right.
But I would want to think about the possibility if they will be uncomfortable or not. Right. So I think that people need to be more mindful about that.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to read this comment.
Okay.
My mother bathed with me until I was 13 and insisted that she wash me because I wouldn't do it right. I'm 55 and I'm still bothered and upset about it. You need to get a counselor for your wife and possibly your daughter. It really messed me up. And to everyone in the comments saying it's weird or inappropriate, I want to thank you for making me finally feel validated.
Aww.
Like reading that comment made me very sad when I saw it, because that is a grown woman still thinking about the fact that her mother just bathed her and she didn't even do anything else, you know, because that's all she said. She just said she bathed her until she was 13.
Right.
But that alone was enough to literally mess someone up.
Right.
Like that was just, it's hurtful.
And it's,
you know,
it's controlling. So what I will say about that, and it's
controlling, yes.
Yeah. You're not able to do it right on your own. But that is a reason why like the helicopter parents or, you know, those parents that are try to control every aspect of their kids' lives. That is why those type of kids have a lot of like anxiety and depression and are always not like overachievers. It's because they never develop the independence to do things, make a mistake and learn from those mistakes. That is how you mature and grow and feel confident. You won't have confidence in life or in yourself if someone, your main parental figure, was always instilling self-doubt into you. If you're always telling this person, you can't do it, so I have to do it for you, they will never learn that they're capable of doing things for themselves and making the right decision for themselves. Because the right decision always, no one is like born knowing how to do anything. No one is born with just supreme discernment. It literally comes from you figuring shit out and then being like, oh, so
thank you.
When I didn't wash my hair right, my scalp was super itchy. I was flaky. I looked in the mirror and I saw flakes. Or some kid told me my hair stinks. I'm going home and I'm scrubbing the hell out of my hair or this or that or whatever it is. You have to let your kids, the old generation told us this and somehow people started to ignore it. Let them fall so they can get back up. That's it.
Facts. Yep. But yeah, on to the next story.
Okay. I thought it was going to be another comment.
Oh no, that was the only one that I found that like contributed to the story, you know.
That was sad.
Very, yeah. But it's important to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the last story. Okay. It is a little long, just a little bit.
Okay.
But yes, the last story. Also, I know I think I saw that ring before. But it's a real watch, right?
Yes.
Oh my God. So you could just be like,
what time?
12 o'clock.
I'm not going to lie. because of the digital error, I
Mhm.
low-key was not as sharp telling time as I used to be. Like, it took me a little minute,
Oh,
and I'm
yeah.
like,
Same. Same.
wait, little hand is which one?
Same.
That was embarrassing. So
Same.
I'm like, I think
No,
I'm
it's not embarrassing.
I'm gonna get back to wearing, or maybe if I can set like
Mhm.
on my Apple Watch, the actual manual time if they have one, because I don't like that. I feel kind of dumb.
No. No, it's just if you don't do something for a while, that naturally happens. But when I went to my grandma's house,
she had a clock.
Girl, she asked me the time. I'm like,
where's my phone? Where's my phone? And girl, I was sharp. I'm that person. I'm like a quarter till.
Okay.
A quarter after. Now I'm like, wait, what is a quarter till on here?
Girl. Yeah, terrible. But yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
Okay. Last story.
Okay.
My 29 female boyfriend, 31 male, thinks I am overly private and wants to know information I am uncomfortable sharing with him. Am I wrong? You already know I picked this one.
Because it sounds like me.
Not that it sounds like you, because you'll see like where it can get a little dicey.
Okay.
But
I'm extremely private.
Yes.
I am extremely private.
Yes. As soon as I saw private in in the headline, I'm like, oh yeah.
As soon as somebody asks me something, I'm like, who is you? Why are you here?
Yeah, no. I said, this one's perfect. Okay. I'll try to make this brief. I, 29 female, was in a horrifying situation in my former relationship, which culminated in his being arrested for aggravated assault toward me and a police officer. He was convicted and put in prison. During the time I was with this person, I became a shell of my former self, and I said and did things I am not proud of. I alienated my friends and my relationship with my family, who is extremely conservative and religious. The relationship became strained as I left home to move across the country to live with this person. Relevant to this situation is that when my former partner was arrested, I disappeared from the internet. I paid a service to rid the internet of my name. I started going by a different variation of my name. I deleted my social media. I only pay in cash. I moved states. I have been with my now partner for 9 months. He has 2 children whom I adore. I shared with him some details of my former life, and he took the approach of always being willing to listen but never prying, and reassuring me that he would not ask details. Since he and I met, we were partially long distance, and over time he began to express dissatisfaction with feeling like I was sectioning him off in my life. To some extent, I believe that was true. However, I was making drives to see him every other weekend around his parenting plan schedule. And so there was not often cause for him to meet any of the friends I had. I really am content to rebuild my life with him in his world. I like his kids and his friends and his home. And my parents are not very approving of this relationship because he was briefly married. And in their world, this is not a legitimate relationship. So I have distanced myself from them and have not introduced them to him. Recently, he brought this up again, and I invited him to come to a class I take in a nearby city to bring him more into my world. We do not live together. I live with an aging relative. We have discussed moving in together this summer, and for the last 2 months, we have lived in the same town and have had an absolutely wonderful relationship. Here's the issue. He has discussed marriage, and in these discussions, I have asked whether we might be able to go to California and get a confidential marriage license to make absolutely certain that our relationship isn't public record. He liked this plan, and we have been daydreaming about it together. He suggested I consider changing my social security number if possible, because I expressed that was the only link to my former relationship through which I/we might be found. I do not think he, X, would actually come looking for me, although during irrational moments I became I become paranoid, and he, current partner, has always been talking me out of that, saying there's no way I could be found, etc. Yesterday, out of nowhere, he asked me the last name of my former partner. I was surprised and told him on the spot, but didn't like that I had, because details relating to the incident, which put my ex under arrest, are searchable if you type his name into Google, as well as his inmate profile. He asked to see a photo of him, and I went and found one in my old email account. Later on, he asked again for my ex's name, but said never mind. Today, I saw him again during his lunch break, and the first thing he asked me was whether I could write his last name down so he could Google his inmate profile. Up until then, I had only referred to my ex by his first name. This very much threw me. I asked why he wanted to know, and he said he needed to be an informed father and assured me that he wasn't worried about safety. I responded very emotionally. I don't deal well with surprise, which I regret. And I asked if he was not concerned with safety, why did he need to know the name? He reiterated that he wanted to see the mugshot from my ex's arrest. This really upset me, and I didn't tell him / write down the name because it's longer and harder to spell. He became very upset and said I was too private, that it bothered him. I wanted to keep this private and disturbed him that I reacted so emotionally to his question. I apologized for the emotional reaction and said I was caught off guard, and I asked him if this was a deal breaker for him. He said he didn't like the way the conversation was going and refused to say if it was a deal breaker, reiterating that he was upset I was being so private and he felt he had the right to know as a father. I didn't mean anything by the deal breaker comment. I was trying to assess how important this actually was for him, or why he felt right now was the time he needed to know this. I was confused because this had never come up before, and I don't care objectively about my ex's name. I just don't like the thought of him looking those things up out of curiosity. And with a couple of quick searches, he would be able to pull the police report from the whole thing, and that makes me feel disgusting and violated. The switch from him saying this is my business to he needs to know this right now for safety reasons also threw me. Now things are strained and I'm not sure what to do. I love him desperately, but I very much wish to close that chapter of my life and build something totally new with him. But I understand he has children and doesn't want to expose them to risk. However, he has been the one assuring me that there is no risk. I am at a loss, and I feel he doesn't trust me or thinks I am sketchy or a safety concern, and I feel sad and like a black mark. Am I wrong? Please give advice.
Okay. So I think that coming from someone who is private and also someone who had a strict upbringing, that if you haven't been someone who's had a very strict upbringing or have had parental figures or figure that was controlling, it's hard for people to understand the privacy that you seek. And it's because you've always not been allowed to have your space, your freedom, and boundaries. So when you don't have boundaries, you put these walls up that you feel like are boundaries, but in reality, like she was saying, you end up isolating people. So you isolate people because you don't want to share aspects of your life because you feel like you want to keep it to yourself because you're not used to having it just all to yourself, but also you don't want other people's judgments or opinions because you've dealt with that for a long time where you're constantly having someone's judgments. So it's like, you don't want to deal with people's judgments. So you feel like by not letting those walls, by not bringing those walls down, that you're protecting yourself and that you don't think you're isolating yourself. You feel like, oh, I'm just a person that likes privacy. But then you also at the same time will feel lonely, but it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't open up and share with people, then how are people ever going to be in? But if you let them in, how are you going to have your space? And how much is too much and how much is not enough? So there's that aspect of that. And there are going to be people, you know, maybe even watching, maybe in our comments or just in general in our lives that will say, no, that you just do what you want to do. You don't, you know, that's a part of being an adult. That's life. But you can't say that until you've experienced it.
Yeah.
It's easy to be so self-assured and so confident in those type of decisions if you've never had to face those type of decisions. Because on the outside looking in, it does sound crazy.
Yeah.
Like, on the outside looking in, it does sound like, well, what does she have to hide? What is she hiding? But I also understand her feeling of like, why do you need to look up my ex? And are you just being nosy? Are you just trying to look into this? But if you truly have nothing to hide, then what is the harm from that? And it could be him actually just being nosy because he feels like you don't share enough. So there's this thing of not wanting to be perceived as sneaky, as someone hiding something or sketchy, but then also doing things that literally make you look sketchy. Yes. So you can't have both worlds. And unfortunately, you cannot live in the middle. So a part of getting past that and getting past the trauma, because it's a trauma response.
Yes.
It's a trauma response. She went through trauma with her ex, and she went through trauma having very strict, religious, controlling parents. Two traumatic experiences that are shaping her life right now. And that's not good. You can't let trauma shape your life. So she has to address that. I do agree with him wanting to know if she's a potential threat to him because he has kids, or if this, I don't even think it's the ex, because if the ex is in prison, but maybe he wants to know, like, how long is the sentence? If I'm planning on marrying you, how does this person become a part of our future? Yes. And she's not realizing that because her experiences are making her so self-focused. She's trying to protect herself, but when you're with someone else, you have to think of you and this person as a unity. So it's not just all about you and how you feel and your protection. He has a whole package deal with him, not just you and him being a unity, but like now you're in unison with his kids. So it's just a lot to unpack. And I think also too, the wanting to get a confidential marriage, like, girl, at this point, I get all of what I just said. I've experienced all of what I just said. And that's why I can understand her. But again, you can't live in the middle. Yeah. So eventually you're going to have to pick a side. And if you don't pick a side, and the side that person wants, the side is going to be picked for you. And the side picked for you is going to end up being isolation and loneliness, because who's going to put up with that? So if she actually wants to be married to him, that confidential marriage shit is out the window. She needs to open up to him. She needs to go to therapy and address the trauma she's been through. And she needs to face her parents. And if it causes them to not want to be around her or no contact with her, I mean, she already limited the contact now. So that's just going to have to be your new norm, because if you don't, you're trying to escape them controlling you by doing this, though. You're still allowing them to control you. So. Yeah.
And she is an adult. And I understand, like, you know, the fear of dealing with your parents' strict ways or their like criticism and stuff, especially if they are still like very strict and religious. I understand that because I dealt with it when I was younger. However, of course, she does need to go to therapy so she can realize these things, that she's an adult now, and they cannot do anything to her. Exactly. A lot of times it's that inner childlike fear that you're
getting in trouble.
And it's like, you have to realize, like, literally, unless you're doing something illegal, you're not going to get in trouble for the basic decisions you make, whether that's being in a relationship or, you know, doing something that you want to do. Of course, that doesn't harm somebody else. But I understood her like childlike fear, and not calling her immature or anything, but this is definitely, she definitely needs therapy because she is not healed
Right.
at all whatsoever. And it is within his right to ask this information because they're talking about marriage. This is not like regular dating.
Right.
If it was regular dating, you don't really need to know my business right now.
Right.
But if we are serious, heading towards marriage, and if anything, to even help people hearing this story, try to turn the tables around.
Right.
If you were a woman,
right,
and you want to marry somebody,
right,
and his ex went to jail and so it's supposedly crazy, and he's afraid
right,
that she would come, imagine him not letting you see what she looked like,
right,
or see, like how long
right,
the sentence was, or
right,
like, not to, because I always like refer to like TV situations sometimes, but sometimes people will not know who this crazy person is because they would, their family member or friend wanted to keep that person hidden.
right,
And then all of a sudden the crazy person shows himself,
right,
and the potential victim doesn't know who they are.
right. They befriended you. Now you're in the house playing Xbox with them or something. Like, hey, babe, look at my new friend. And then you come in the house and he's like,
imagine the nightmare.
Yeah.
So if he's actually like crazy for real and he decides to try to look you up and like get you,
right,
like most of the time things aren't just going to happen where he just jumps in the house. They be stalking.
Yeah.
Stalking charges are real. People really stalk out here.
Yeah.
He can see who you're with, the fact that they have kids, whatever. And he can like, make some master plan.
Right.
So I understand his anxiety if he has it. And even if he was being nosy, I'm not saying like being nosy is right. However, when you are married or getting married to someone, and this is something that a lot of people don't want to accept, when you marry someone, that secretive stuff is out the window. I'm not saying, little weird things you like to keep to yourself or like the weird photo albums in your phone. I'm not talking about that. But when we're talking about the past, and it's something that could have an effect on them, you cannot keep it from them. It is within his right to know, as long as he has serious intentions on being with you.
Right. She's scared to let him know who she is because she grew up being criticized for being who she was, and she wasn't allowed to be who she is.
And maybe she feel like she would be a little embarrassed too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I dealt with this, or, like this happened to me. And
exactly. It's the fear of judgment. It's that fear of being judged harshly because that's how she grew up. But if he loves you, he's not going to judge you. And then if he judges you, you have to learn how to deal with that outside of your parents. Like that's a part of being an adult. So how do you, people are going to judge you. People are always judging. We're judging people right now. We sat here and judged 4 stories.
Yeah.
People are always judging. You just can't be afraid of it.
But then it's also important for people like her to understand that judging and people giving like advice and stuff, it's a spectrum, right? Because she's used to the harsh criticism and the harsh judgment, etc. And a lot of times it takes people that deal with that drama, and I know like from experiencing it, to kind of open that door, because they can't differentiate between someone telling them something out of like love for real and wanting better for them versus actually judging them. So for her, it could be, therapy would really help her, because if she feels like anything that anyone says is judgment, then that's not the case. Because even though we're judging right now, we're not judging in a way that's like bad per se. We kind of just want better for people. We want people to be mindful and think about others before they hurt their feelings. So it's a different type of judgment. And a lot of times, it takes therapy to realize that, but she really does need it. Or like you said earlier, she will be isolated.
Right.
And where's the fun or comfort in that? It would be a life of fear.
Right.
And hiding. Like who wants to hide for the rest of their lives?
Right. Yeah. It is, and on the judgment topic, I think, so for me personally, I feel like, okay, people are going to judge you. You've dealt with harsh judgments, and you may not obviously think that people are always judging in a harsh way, but I feel like because you've had so much time in your youth of someone trying to control you, you don't really want to hear what other people have to say. You don't want to hear it. And not saying that people can't give you valid advice, but you get to a point where you're like, I don't want to listen to anything you have to say. I want to listen to myself and develop my own inner voice. And I want to be able to develop my own wisdom and my own discernment. And even if I fall, I'm going to get back up. So, but you have to find that healthy balance. So the healthy balance is, okay, if you lean too much into not wanting to listen to people, then you're going to always be on defense mode. You're always going to be suspicious of people's intentions, and you're always going to be not wanting to see the value in what people can tell you. But if you find that balance, it is, okay, I can respectfully listen to someone and tell them my opinions on what they're saying, or sometimes telling people, I don't want to hear what you have to say because it doesn't really apply to me, and I'm going to do what I want to do, So I had to learn that balance for myself because definitely I had stages in my life where, I just didn't want to listen to anybody. And I would listen to practical advice, like maybe in like a work setting or anything, but like personal advice, it's not like I shut people down. I just didn't give people space to even tell me anything because I just wouldn't tell them anything. So it's like, I'm not taking your advice because you don't even know what I may need advice on, But once I got comfortable with, I tell everything and actively listen to anything someone says, and then still decide on my own what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So, but the privacy thing is going to be a journey of its own that she has to learn, because I'm still learning it, even though I've come a long way. And also, too, you don't start off private. The privacy is literally a trauma response.
Yes, it is.
Because at one point, I wasn't as private. And then somewhere down the line, and you don't even realize you're doing it, you start to build up this wall and almost become a shell of who you used to be,
Yep.
So.
Yep. I agree. I didn't have a long history with being private. I think once I reached like my early 20s and started caring less about my parents, like the whole privacy thing, as my mom for a long period of time kept a lot of things to herself. And I saw the harm that it did to her, how she didn't really have a support system. And meanwhile, she did. But the issue was she was not sharing the proper information with her support system. And that left her with a false sense of kind of like security, So I saw that it did harm her in the long run. And, after dealing with, them being strict and stuff like that, I went through a small period of being private when I dealt with like the petty, like friendship stuff, like falling out with a couple friends like that one time. And you already know, but then after that, I was like, oh my God, like I never want to make like new friends again. And I'm just not going to tell anyone anything, and like I reached a point to where I'm like, making new friends and opening up a little bit is not such a bad thing. You just have to balance it.
Right.
you know, but I have seen in my family how being overly private ended up isolating them. And it was kind of like in my mind to not do that. You know, I may have overshared,
Right.
you know, because already I'm a person that wears my emotions on my sleeve. I can't really hide it. I'm forced to do that. But yeah, even though I did have that small period of time to where I felt very private, I still understand why it's hard for people. And I still understood her, you know, and not wanting to be embarrassed about, you know, dealing with a bad situation. But then you learn that there are truly people in your life that really do love you. And even if they say something that you don't like, it can be talked about. But ultimately going back to the fact that they do love you. And that's something that a lot of people wish that they had. So many people wish that they had. I wish that I had someone who would even give me advice I don't like. There are so many lonely people out here, forcefully lonely, don't really have family or anything. And they wish that they had people who loved them, who would give them advice that they didn't want to hear. So it is about balance and appreciating the loved ones that you have in your life that you can seek support in.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
Yes, that is the end.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed our video today, please like, comment, and share.
And don't forget to subscribe so you can see more content like this, and check out our Instagram to see some highlighted content.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye.